Three strikes and still beating. This is AK Tyagaraj. The world was slowly shutting down. News anchors were telling us to shelter in place. I didn't even know what that meant. Which place were they referring to exactly? People were beating each other up for toilet paper. I didn't have to. When I remodeled the bathroom, I installed a bidet. I must have been like Nostradamus. The world was panicking, but I wasn't. After coming back from the dead, what's a little virus gonna do to me? Worst case, my EP could turn on a secret feature on my ICD that zaps the virus. There were some advantages to having that device. I was like, come on, I survived death, and these folks are afraid of a silly virus? Doesn't it go away in 7 days or something? Maybe this one's stronger. 10 days tops. Then the news started rolling in. People getting really sick, dying, not just in America, but everywhere. Italy, China, India. People I knew were dying. This wasn't a flu. This thing was striking with a vengeance, forcing people to make impossible choices, lives or livelihoods. And that's when the seriousness of it all really hit me. At first, I just felt sorry for the world. People were dying, families were scared, hospitals were overflowing. For once, it wasn't just me fighting for breath. Everyone was. But then it sank in. I wasn't watching this from the sidelines. I was the definition of high risk. Heart failure, scar tissue, a chest full of hardware. My immunity was probably as weak as the back of a hospital gown. If I caught this thing, I wasn't going to bounce back. I'd already had one miracle. The odds of getting another weren't great. Every cough on TV felt personal. Every trip to the mailbox felt like a game of Russian roulette. I'd survived the cardiac arrest, but this one felt like it could finish the job if I got it. The first couple of weeks, I'll admit, I was cheating a bit. I went to the store, picked up takeout, ran a few errands. Nothing crazy. But when things started getting nasty, my wife decided it wasn't safe. And even a moron like me knows when to listen to his wife. So I agreed. We decided none of the four of us should go out. My daughters could pick up something and bring it home. Not a souvenir, but the virus. My poor daughters were attending school on Zoom and actually had to pay attention. Unlike me, who used Zoom meetings time to catch up on bills. Let's just say I had gotten quite comfortable at work by now. My neighbors and friends really stepped up. They picked up groceries and supplies so I didn't have to go risk getting the virus. We ordered everything else from Amazon and started ordering takeout way more than we should. Survival 2020 style. I'd been really unlucky when it came to my heart and health. But in one big way, I was lucky. We had space, a decent sized house, a backyard, quiet streets we could still walk on. So the four of us weren't climbing the walls like so many others. We could order out, watch movies, and make it work. Money wasn't a major worry, at least not yet. Well, there was one other thing that shut down: churches. For once, I didn't feel guilty about not going. I finally had an excuse, and a pretty solid one at that. But my already fragile faith had fractured even more. The world and I thought this would be a brief disruption, a few weeks, maybe. But then a month passed, then two. Horror stories kept pouring in from across the globe. I wanted to help, but what could I really do? Locked up in a comfortable house in suburban America. Then I heard about an organization in Chennai, India, my hometown, helping marginalized families with groceries and essentials during the shutdown. Three of my college buddies and I started a Facebook fundraiser. We spent hours planning, organizing, promoting, and within 2 months, we raised $20,000 for the cause. It reminded me that I still had a heart. Damaged, yes, but still capable of feeling. The only upside to the pandemic, if there was one, was that most of my doctor visits went virtual. No waiting rooms, no fluorescent lights, no chance of catching that thing that was hunting me. And honestly, it saved me a bunch of time and frustration. I could sit in my office, space age underwear and all, while a cardiologist somewhere in a Zoom square nodded politely and told me my heart was behaving. My mind, though, that was another story. Even my therapist had gone virtual. And I thought, he couldn't fix me when I was sitting right in front of him. How's he going to fix me through a screen? Still, I wasn't complaining. Remote medicine meant fewer drives, fewer hospital smells, fewer chances for my heart to panic just walking past the ER doors. But there was always that voice in the back of my head. What if they miss something? What if my device data doesn't tell the full story? Even my saxophone lessons went virtual. I was a mediocre student to start with, barely keeping up in person. Now I was trying to learn over Zoom, squinting at sheet music through lag and feedback. But I kept going. Either was stubborn or persistent. Depends on your perspective. Maybe both. After months of lockdown, the days started blurring together. I'd fill the silence with takeout and wine. Every movie night became booze and fried food night, and every night became movie night. If the virus didn't get me directly, it was doing it indirectly by making me do bad things to my heart. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, a cardiac patient, Someone would once sworn to eat clean, exercise daily, and meditate. And I was doing everything the opposite. I put on weight, the kind that sneaks up on you in sweatpants, because who wears jeans anymore? And the drinking? Let's just say my nightly glass turned into a generous pour, a cardio friendly serving, if you stretch the definition of friendly. At least I wasn't alone. Everyone I knew was coping in their own way, baking, binging, spiraling. We were all trying to control something in a world that felt completely out of control. There were nights when I'd sit in the backyard with a drink in hand, scrolling through news updates and death counts, wondering which one would get me first, the virus, the heart, or the loneliness. And yet, even in that fog, I was still balancing the same two forces, the pandemic and my heart. Survival had become muscle memory. Not living, not thriving, just enduring. By the end of that year, the world started talking about vaccines. Hope finally had a timeline. The death rate had slowed, but everyone had lost someone or knew someone who had. It was tragic, the kind of collective grief you could feel even through a screen. I remember refreshing news sites for my vaccine like they were lottery results, waiting to see when my age group, my risk category would qualify. Around the same time, my older daughter was applying to colleges. Deadlines, essays, recommendations, all of it unfolding over Zoom. We'd sit together at the kitchen table, laptops open, helping her chase a future while the rest of the world felt paused. It was strange. She was supposed to take the SAT, but every time she tried, it got cancelled. It was stressful until most colleges finally announced they were going test blind. In a strange way, all this grounded me. The chaos outside, the fear, the endless waiting, it all faded for those moments. She was planning her next chapter, and maybe, just maybe, I was too. The vaccines were coming. Life wasn't normal yet, but you could almost feel the pulse returning. That is the episode. If you enjoyed this episode, or hated it, or you thought it was okay, I would appreciate a honest rating. Beaten by life? Still beating.